I just feel like life in Australia was boring.
It's racism in Australia.
They will say things like, go back to your country. I think for me, it's do or die. I'm not going anywhere. Like, I love living here.
Though moving to Ghana from the West has been romanticized on social media, it does take a great deal of careful planning and determination to make it work. Many have tried and had to reconsider their plans in the end. In this video, I speak to an inspiring young lady who moved to Ghana from Australia over 3 years ago and still thriving. We discuss what sort of mindset is required to succeed in Ghana. You're gonna love this. So coming to Ghana, was it as you expected? My name is Mickey. Keep watching. Thank you very much, Jasmine.
That's
nice
okay.
meeting you.
Very nice to meet you too.
But before we start, I want to start with a game.
Okay.
Right? I want to start with a game. I'm going to ask you a question. I think it's easy for you, but it's more for the viewers. I'm going to ask a question. Jasmine will know, but pause the video and tell me your answer in the comment section. You have to be honest with this one. Don't Google this. What is the capital of Australia?
Canberra?
So it's Canberra.
Yeah.
If you got it, let me know in the comment section. Do you know I only found out last year?
Do you think it was Sydney?
Sydney, Melbourne.
Yeah. Oh, Melbourne? Yeah. Yeah, it was Sydney for a while, but it's been Canberra for a little while too. Yeah.
So I was trying to think, oh, maybe they changed in 2003 or something like that. It's been Canberra since 1927.
Oh, has it? Oh, why did I think it was Sydney before?
Yeah, it's crazy.
For some reason, I thought it was Sydney before, and then they changed it to Canberra. And most people don't even know what Canberra is.
I think at least if you get 10 people on the street right now, about 2 of them will know.
Yeah. Most people will say.
So were you born in Australia?
I was, yeah.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was.
How was life like over there?
I was so young when I came to Ghana. So I was only there till I was like 5. And then my mom brought me here with my brother. Yes.
And then you went back?
And then I went back, exactly. So then I stayed here till I turned 17. And then I left again.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped you coming back for a bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In what way?
Well, you know, from 5, that's like, you're still quite young. So doing primary school and then JSS and a tiny bit of SS, really, like, I felt like this was home, really. I made friends. I mean, I don't really keep in touch with most of them now because, you know, once you go, that's it, yeah. But I think having my family, so I have a lot of good relationships with my cousins and things like that. My grandma, you know, they're not strangers to me because I was here for a good amount of time before I left. So definitely helped. And I think this place has always been home, really. Australia is home too. Like when I go on holiday, I'm like, oh my God, I miss this, you know. But it has always been home. Ghana has always been home. So it didn't feel like a strange place when I came back. Definitely not. Yeah.
That's good. So how was life in Australia like? You were into, is it social work?
Social work, yes.
How was life like in general?
Very boring.
Okay.
Very boring, very mundane. You feel like you are doing the same thing over and over again. I don't know. Like even around uni time. So right after high school, going into uni, you know, in Ghana, people talked about how uni was fun and everyone's doing all these. I'm like, am I in a different, like...
One of the best time of my life anyway, yeah.
See, I didn't find that, but I also didn't live on campus because my school wasn't too far from home. So I lived at home. So I don't know if that made a difference, but I didn't think it was all that. I thought it was fun, but it wasn't all that fun. It was just kind of whatever. I just feel like life in Australia was boring. I felt like I had everything I could ever ask for. Okay. But then why do I feel so empty?
Empty.
Yes, that's how I felt.
Tell you what, watching most of your earlier videos, you were good at conveying that message, that emptiness.
Yeah.
You did really well.
Thank you.
Well, I'm saying you did well as if you acted it. It was what was there, wasn't it? That was like, you watch it and it's like, oh, you just want to give her a hand.
You know, you're probably like the second or third person that said that to me. They're like, you look so sad in Australia.
Oh, nice. We'll go to the R word. Racism. Is racism in Australia?
Definitely, it is. It is. But I think my experience in Australia was a lot of people are not that well traveled. Like I feel like a lot of people, their only exposure to like outside Australia is probably Bali, Thailand, because those places are sort of closed. I think a lot of people haven't done much traveling. So a lot of the time they're more curious than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So they would ask you a million and one questions and you're just like, can we talk about something else?
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? So I experienced more of that than direct racism.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but there was still like a few instances where people will be mean to you for no reason just because you're black and stuff like that. And also, I felt like there was people that would have migrated from other countries to Australia that were probably more racist than the white Australians as well. So I had a few encounters with people from certain places that live in Australia
What
now.
sort of color? Or?
They're fair skinned as well, but they're not like white people. Yeah. And they'll say things like, go back to your country. And like, I'm like, mate, we both came to somebody's country. What are you talking about? You know? So, yeah. So I had those experiences.
Do you think you can sometimes fight racism with education? So, well, I believe that racism it starts from being ignorant, and then when you don't know something, you are skeptical of it, and then later it's like you hate it. Have you ever tried that approach? Did you ever try, getting people to know your culture and maybe they warm to you?
I think it depends on how the person approaches you. I think like when you come with the curiosity side of things, I don't even consider that racism. I think it's just that sometimes I'm just like, oh, can we talk about something else? I don't really want to talk about where I'm from. You know what I mean? But then even though I'd say that in my head, I'll still tell you about it. I'll tell you about Ghana, where I'm from, what it's like, all those type of things. But then if you come and you're swearing and you're sick, of course there's no room to do that, So it depends on how the person presents. So sometimes you can educate, but sometimes not necessarily.
Like for me, if someone came to me and said, oh, do you live on trees? Would you be, like for me, I wouldn't take it personal. I would just educate.
Right.
With the help of YouTube, I'll open YouTube, tell people, and they're like, there's no way this is Ghana.
Right.
And then now they come to you all the time.
Yeah.
By the time you realize they've got a ticket and they're coming to Ghana.
So, I think that's a good way to do it for sure. Yeah.
There's a craze in UK, right? I don't know if you living in Australia, you realize that a lot of British people, their dreamland is to migrate to Australia. Did you realize that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot
is that?
Well, the weather's better. Yeah, it's not as cold. It's nice and warm most of the time. Even our winter doesn't get like that cold because it only snows in some parts. And if you move to a place like Brisbane, which is like a different state, it's warm almost all year round. So I think weather is probably a big thing. So that obviously impacts on the quality of people's lives. And I think people are paid better as well in Australia.
That's what they say.
Yes. So
but
that's
isn't the cost of living a little bit
It is
expensive?
high, yeah. It's very high. But I think overall, it's probably still better than the UK. And I think Australia is pretty as well. Yes, it's very pretty. Like, I don't know why people want to go to London. Exactly, beaches, and because it's sunny, so it just looks nicer, Yeah, it's not, London's always wet, rainy. So even the nice parts just look wet and rainy, The only times that it looks nice is maybe like around Christmas time with the lights and stuff. But other than that, it's a bit like, there's nothing here. Yeah.
I've been able to survive because I spent so much time outside.
Inside London itself.
Okay, so coming to Ghana, was it always your plan, or there was a day that a pen dropped? Has it always been your plan?
So it wasn't. I didn't have a plan as such, but I knew I'll come.
Oh, okay. Yes. So you'd always wanted to come.
I always wanted to come. Yeah. So
why
when I first arrived into Australia, like my very first day, the day my mom picked us up from the airport, I was just in the car, just looking around. I think it was autumn, so it had all like the dry leaves and things, and I was like, hey. Like, I'm like, I don't even see anybody outside. I'm like, and I just said to myself, like, inside me that I'll come to Ghana at a point in time. I was like, I don't think I can live here forever. I'll come to Ghana. And that time I was still a teenager. Like I didn't even know what I was talking about. But I just said it to myself, and here I am. You know, so there was no proper plan from the beginning. Not really. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you managed to buy yourself a house.
I did.
Whilst you were over there.
That's right.
How was the process like? Was it easy? Was it difficult?
Okay, so for me it was fairly straightforward because at that time there was not this big craze about year of return, people coming to Ghana. The people that were buying in Ghana at that time were like just our parents. You know how our parents want to build and buy here? And it was more that. It wasn't really like people from other countries being interested in Ghana. So the prices were a little bit decent. There wasn't as much competition. So I was like, my brother and I actually had a talk about it. We're like, oh, you know, it might not be a bad idea to look at buying homes in Ghana or whatnot. So I had like a long period of work. I think, I don't remember what job I was doing then, but I either stopped working or I just had a long break, something like that. And then I came to Ghana. I was in Ghana for 6 weeks. And then I had a friend of mine take me around to show me what was available in different places. And then eventually I found something. So I found something within that trip.
Okay.
And then I paid for a portion of it while I was here. And then when I left, I did the other portion. And then the documents and everything was done for me.
So straightforward.
Very straightforward.
Didn't it occur to you to build it?
It did, but I didn't want the stress of
didn't want the
building
stress.
at the time. And I also felt like because it was my first sort of home project type thing, I didn't want to do all that. Because I think when it comes to where I want to live, I'll rather take my time and make it like exactly how I want it.
Okay.
And I felt like
I saw you doing a lot of work to it and
yeah, exactly. I had to like do the ceilings and do all those type of things, you know. So so I didn't. That's why I didn't want to build then. I feel like there's advantages to building, but at that time I didn't think it was appropriate.
Did you ever buy in Australia a house?
No, I didn't buy a house in Australia.
Why did you decide against
Nobody has asked me this before. I felt like it was cheaper if I bought here because then I can just pay cash and not think about it again. And Australia, obviously, like prices are like now Ghana real estate is ridiculous, but then it was nothing compared to the prices that they had here. So it made sense to just buy this and not have to worry about mortgage or anything like that. And also because I wasn't very certain about whether I wanted to live there long term, and I guess I didn't really know much about investing and things like that, so I didn't really think too much about it. But in hindsight, I could have also bought something there and just invested because the prices of homes there are outrageous now.
No.
Yeah.
So for a young girl your age to buy a house, like when I was growing up, as you said, it was our parents who were building, right? So whenever someone said, "Oh, my real me fee," you can see gray hairs and stuff. Like that.
I know.
So what if a young person, a young girl is looking and watching? What advice will you give, like in terms of discipline? Was it that easy for you, or what did you have to sacrifice to be able to do such a thing?
Okay. I think for me, I've been fairly disciplined all my life. I've been like one of those like nerdy girls, but I still like to go out and have fun. Like I've always been a bit like that. So I think you always have to be committed to whatever it is you want, you know. I believe that whatever you want, you can get, but then nobody's going to hand it to you. You actually have to put in the work and do what you need to do to be able to get it. So in terms of my life in general, that's how I look at life and the things that I do. So I'm very disciplined when it comes to like, okay, we need to get A, B, and C, no matter how tired I am, no matter. And another thing is I'm also a very good saver.
That's it.
Yes, I'm also a very good saver. Even though I don't hold back when I want something, I don't misspend money. Like I'm always saving. There's always some kind of saving somewhere. You know what I mean? I've always been like that, like all through my life as well. So I think it's those two things, like saving and then focusing on whatever it is you want and knowing that you can get it, but you have to put in the work.
Yeah. This is personal. Was there a trend, or was there a habit that you had to put on hold to be able to get yourself a house? Was there a particular thing that, you know, your friends were doing, but you were like, because of this house?
Yeah, not really.
So you fairly live your normal life.
Yeah, I just live my normal life, and I think I've never also been the like person that wants to get all the fancy things. Like, oh, there's this new Mercedes out there. Not necessarily. I'm very practical, so it's like, is this a practical car? Is this a practical dress? Is this a I'm not gonna spend $1,000 on a dress or whatever. So yeah, I just managed to say I didn't have to. It's not very hard for me to say I'm not interested in that. Not really.
I think you've done the balance, because you're always wearing the nice clothes. You always look good. It's not like So yeah, you do it really well.
Thank you.
So coming to Ghana, was it as you expected? Just feel free.
So, for the most part, it has been as I expected, because it's been great. Like, it's been really good for me. It's exactly what I needed. Like, the lifestyle change is what I wanted. I don't feel that emptiness that I mentioned that I felt in Australia. I feel more whole. I feel like I'm able to support more people, which I've always wanted to do. I feel like I just feel at home, I feel like I feel so blessed being here, being able to live here, you know what I mean? But in saying that, some of the challenges behind the scenes is not a joke.
Let us know.
It's not.
Hit us.
It's not a joke. Like, I think some of the things you just can't prepare for, I think there's certain things that you can prepare for. So finances, if you get your money right, you should be okay. If you organize like where you're going to stay, like the practical things, what work are you going to do while you're living here? How are you going to make friends? Like those type of things, But things that I wasn't prepared for is, I guess, people here are a little different, I guess, in comparison to the people over in the West, the way they think, even the way they make friends and things like that. A lot of people, it took a long time for me to make like quality friends. Like, I'd say like I probably have like 2 really, really good friends here. The other friends that I have, I used to know them from before, but they've all moved to other places. So I still talk to them, but they're not people that I can go to on a daily. But it took me at least a good 3 years to meet somebody that I could feel like, okay, I really trust this person can be. And I didn't think that would happen, And moving to a new country, you don't want to be alone, you know what I mean? You want to have friends that you can call and talk to. And when it comes to partying and you could have 100 people go with you. That's not hard. Like, having people to spend time with and do those fun things, it's very easy to find people like that in Ghana. But to find people that you can rely on and trust and share things with,
invest with and stuff.
Exactly. It takes a very long time, and I didn't expect that, And the other side of that is a lot of people have also disappointed me, you know what I mean? I used to be the type of person that would trust any and everybody. When I lived in Australia, there was nothing like, oh, I'm worried about this person. Never. When people would be like, hey, be careful. I was never like that. Okay. And I was fine. Like, when I was over there, I never really had any weird friendships or interactions with people that made me cautious but here now I feel like I am always walking on you have to be so careful, because it's
especially when it comes with money,
anything. Just people can be very interesting when it comes to that. So I think it's relationships that have been like one of the biggest things. Yes. So
the system, any particular thing about the system itself, like registering a company?
Registering a company isn't too hard. Well, it wasn't that hard for me. Like, it was fairly straightforward. I think what would be hard about the system? I think the thing that's hard about the system is because it's not so straightforward, there's anybody can come and tell you whatever. You know what I mean? So unless you have some strong connections in whatever company or whatever, governmental agency that you're trying to work with, you may end up like wasting a lot of money, which comes down to the relationships and the interactions with people again, isn't it? Because people can be very unreliable. People don't have integrity. Not everybody, but a few people don't have integrity. So then maybe they'll take your money and be like, oh, I'll go and register this for you. Nothing. You know what I mean? So that, I feel like it all boils down to how people are and how people interact with each other. And see, after a while, you start to feel like You know, in Ghana, they have this thing where they say, oh, we are Ordinagin now.
Yeah.
You also start to become a Ordinagin
yeah,
because you can't be like,
You
I'm just going with the flow anymore after a while, you know?
I think my wife has got to that bit where she is like ruthless. And I'm still in that, let's give them a bit of a space. Oh, maybe it's true that he's sick. Oh, maybe. But I think I will get a rude awakening.
Once you live here, you notice. It's a shame. It's a shame. But when you find some good people, then you know you've really found them as well.
Well, I can tell you, I've only got like 2 people.
Yeah.
And I'm not even counting myself. Hopefully they're not watching. I'll have to blur that one out. No, I can only trust 2 people, my wife and 1 guy.
Yeah.
That was it.
And that's it,
It's a shame because
really
you have to work with people to build bigger stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
This word, they say Africa or Ghana is like a man's world. Is it something you will agree with?
To some extent, I think it is. Because I think here, even though it's changing, still people believe that the woman's thing is to be the wife and the one with the babies at home, and then the man is out there doing the things that they need to do to make money and things like that. I've had instances where there was a boy I used to work with. We traveled to Tamale and we went to film. So every time we'll go to, that's all work costs related. So eating, all that is all on me because it's all considered work expenses. We'll go out to eat and then I'll tell the waitress, oh, can you bring me the bill? She'll come and she'll be like, oh, say. He'll just hand it to him, And even at that time, I had only just started working with him. So he was super young. He was like, maybe like, I don't know, I think 18. So you could tell that he was way younger than me, but they were still going to him for that. You know what I mean? And sometimes it comes into, things. You may be building a home or something like that. If your husband or a man represents you, because that area is very male dominated, they always will listen to their husband, or you might even give them instructions about how you want certain things, and then they want to tell you how it should be and things like that. You know what I mean? So there's little aspects of it that pop up here and there. It definitely happens. And here as well, I feel like a lot of people tie your value to being married and having children.
Okay.
Yes. To some extent, that happens quite a lot. So if you're a woman who's decided you don't want that and you want a different life, then you're probably always going to be looked at as like
wayward.
And not necessarily wayward, but it's like you're not doing enough kind of thing. Like just like you're not doing enough. Yeah.
So has that, you being like a lone woman leading, well, you're building an empire now, I would say. Has that been a downside? Has that made it difficult for you?
I wouldn't say it's made it difficult. I think I have the people that I need around me, and I think I'm very grounded in who I am as well, and I know what I want. I can't be pulled left and right. You know what I mean? Nobody can tell me, oh, you go do this, and I do what I want. Basically, that's what it comes down to. So what people think doesn't really matter. And because my work is, because of the way it is like a creative type of job, and I get to make the decisions around how I want to present the things that I do. Nobody has to be involved. Like, it doesn't involve, YouTubing and all that is all a new phenomena. So there's no governmental agency that I have to be participating in to be able to run and do what I do. So it hasn't really impacted me in that way. I haven't tried to build a house yet either, but I'm sure once I do, it could come up.
But wait, we build houses.
Oh, okay.
Right? And I started building when my wife came into my life, and she actually made it faster.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot of people say that, when you build and you are the woman, I don't know, I actually use my wife.
So that's the other side of it. So I've actually done a video as well talking about, I don't remember what the topic was. It was something about things you have to adjust to when you decide to live here, something along those lines. So the other side of what I was talking about is, if you're a woman and you're here, you can lean very much into your femininity as well, where you can be, I don't know how to do that, can you do it? oh, like this is my boss, he can take care of it for me. You know what I mean? So if you know how to use it, it can be to your advantage. You know what I mean? So I absolutely get that. So it does work in my favor sometimes. You know, there's people that are always willing to help me with whatever. It could be like a little bag that I'm like, oh, madam, like, you know, and I absolutely love that and I appreciate that about that. But it can also go the other way if you don't, you know, depending on who you're with.
To be fair, there have been few people who's come to me and I'm like, you were dealing with my wife, why are you coming to? What did my wife tell you to do?
Exactly.
And then when they say it, at least I actually got one person say, and I did your can be now.
And I'll be
So, oh, nice. Okay, so for you, what is the pull? What is the pull for Ghana? What is your God-given purpose that you think is being served in Ghana?
In Ghana. So, I think for me, I think my main thing is to give people a real glimpse into what it's like to be here in Ghana. And I think there's beauty in every aspect of life in Ghana. So it needs to be shown as it is. I think, you know, there's this whole thing about changing the narrative about Ghana, but a lot of and other African countries, but a lot of the time it's like the affluent and like the buildings that are comparable to what's in the West that's shown, you know. But I think there's beauty in being able to go to the street and buy wache. There's beauty in buying cocoa. There's beauty in whatever anybody is doing. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to look like they're poor because they're selling wache by the road or they're selling cocoa by the road. It's part of what makes Ghana Ghana. That's why we want to come here. If we just wanted these high-rise buildings, we would have just stayed overseas. You know what I mean? So that I just want to show that in a way that people can appreciate it for what it is. That it doesn't need to change to become what's in the. We want that, we stay there. We need to appreciate what's here. So that realistic life, I want to portray in a beautiful way to people.
You know, from what you said, I have this thing that I always say, and I want to know what you think about. So you know when people go like, oh, everything is slow over here, everything is that. And I'm thinking, in UK, everything is fast. But what comes with it is when I meet Jasmine on the tube station, she's not even ready to say hello to me. But then when you come here, because it's so relaxed, Jasmine will say hello and you'll be like, oh, nice. Is it something you think if we try to make the system as fast as it is where we came from, right? Is that not going to change it?
It can impact on the pace of, absolutely, it can. But I think if it's done with awareness, where we know that certain things, it's necessary for that to happen, but not everything. You know, I feel like over in the West, one thing is like everything has become so fast, like food delivery, like literally anything, you know what I mean? But then I think if it's the same thing is done here, but with awareness, so things like going to hospital, ambulance services, police services, fire services, those type of things, like it needs to be on time, you know, in those type of, so if you do it mindfully, then you know that, okay, there's certain things where it fits, where they need to be rushed to do certain things, but other things don't necessarily need to be rushed, you know what I mean? And even then, in saying that, I think when it comes to the pace of things, I think sometimes the attitude of some of the workers and things like that, that's more the problem than anything else, you know what I mean? So imagine you went to, I don't know, somewhere to see someone and the receptionist was over there and they were like, oh, uncle, it's going to be a little bit of a wait, but are you okay? Do you want to wait or do you want to come back in an hour or whatever? If they spoke to you that way, in comparison to you get there and they're like, they don't even look at you. And then you're like, oh, auntie, I'm here to see that. And they're like, Chenyoba. You know what I mean? What's the difference? I'm waiting for an hour, but then I wouldn't mind if that communication is there. You know what I mean? So those are the little tweaks that needs to be made to change certain things here. You know,
like I don't starting to drive and I went, well, I might be late, letting you know.
Exactly. That, oh, like, I'm giving you a heads up, so then I don't get upset. But then somebody will say 1, they'll show up at 3, and then you're annoyed, they're like, now we'll say, I send me out. You know what I mean?
That can be painful, frustrating. That can be frustrating.
Oh, man.
God. You know what? You are one of the OGs, you know.
You think?
Yeah, the moving. You know, some people came and left. There's another person in my head, think Della. I don't know if you've met.
Oh,
Della.
yes, yes, yes,
Ghana
yes.
natural girl.
Yes,
Now she
yeah.
doesn't want that name.
Yes.
I've not met her yet.
Okay.
I think the two of you, every time I'm like, when I meet these two ladies, there's one question that I want to ask them. What sort of mentality does one need to be able to stick at it the way you, because you know what, from behind, maybe you're not telling us what is happening, the frustration and that, we know, but at the front, you guys are building something and it's only take resilience to do that. What sort of mentality does one need to be able to achieve this?
I think for me, it's do or die. I'm not going anywhere. Like, I love living here, you know? So at the moment, I don't want to live anywhere else. So that's what it comes down to. I don't, like, if you're not going to go, you have to make it work, right? If you're on the fence, like, oh, if it doesn't work, I'm going to go there. Then you start to, you might not even try hard enough at the things that you're doing here because you kind of have it at the back of your mind that you can go back to wherever it is. But then I love living here. I get to travel to wherever I want, whenever I feel like it, you know, so that's the life, really. Why would I want to leave it, you know? So I've made up my mind to do whatever it takes to make sure that happens for me because I want to live here. So I think that's the main thing. That's what grounds me. That's what keeps me going. That's what wakes me up in the morning to go and get work done so I can...
That's good.
Yeah.
So one thing I've realized is a lot of people are stuck there because of their kids. When we were coming here, everyone is like, why are you taking your kids from this good education? And in case you would want to have kids later, do you trust the system here to first have your kids here? And raise them here, or you have to probably go to Australia and then get it done and maybe come back, or maybe they stay there. What would be the plan?
I think I will most likely have my kids here, and then they'll go to school up until like you probably after SHS to go uni. Then they go uni. They're gonna go over in Australia, and then they can come back whenever they want, or if they want to stay over there, then that's up to them. But I want to give them both worlds just like I had, and then they can choose what they want. But in terms of like, if you mean delivery and things like that, that is not really something that I've researched. I think out here people have kids all the time. You mentioned Della the other day, earlier on. She had her last child here, I think. So I know there's people out here that can do all of that as well, but until you're pregnant, I don't think you really kind of look into those properly, you know. So but I know there's options, so I'll keep my options open in terms of that. If I find a place that's super reliable and stuff, then why not? You know, it saves me a whole bunch of money having to travel over there and have
setting up over there.
Exactly.
Derailing what you build.
Exactly, and then leaving this for a while and then coming back. It's long, you know. So I think it'll be easier if I have them here and then maybe take them on holiday there, and then, you know, they do the whole back and forth thing till they're ready to go uni, then they can go over there if they want. Yeah.
So Jasmine Ama is turning out to be a household name in the diaspora world. What should we expect? What's the future for Jasmine Ama
and what I'm doing here? I think a lot of real life stories of people that live out here, a lot of affordable homes that are available for sale, because I know a lot of people in the diaspora want to come here. So I'm doing my best to see what I can put out in terms of that as well. And I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere. I was telling somebody I think I'm going to be on YouTube till I'm like 90. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
I absolutely love it. I love it so much. And
that's what I want to do after my army.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's great. It's I mean, get to meet people like you and chat and stuff.
It gets me people like you. Who am I?
You're picky. Stop it.
Your grandma said something. She said it gets to a point you have to train people so that they can also carry some of the burden. I don't know if you remember that.
I do in the interview. Yeah.
So
wow, you got good memory.
Yeah, it's something you might want to listen to and just go bigger. I am in awe of what you've achieved. Like,
thank you.
When I sort of compare, me and my wife, we talk about this a lot, and we do compare. We do compare. It's like, oh, you don't know how Jasmine does this. You know, if they were to do it the way she does it, blah, blah, blah. So what you're doing is really good. And another thing is, I always wanted to come to Ghana, but not this early until I watch people like yourself
thanks.
and Della. So thank you very much for what you do.
okay,
If anybody wants to be inspired by you, where can they find you online?
So it's Jasmine Ama on my YouTube and Jasmine Ama on Instagram as well. But on Instagram, it's a double E. So JASMINEEAMA. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you,
with me.
Mickey. It's been lovely.
All right. Thank you. Well, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to come on my journey of experience. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.
Bye.